All right, quick lesson from the book Dotcom Secrets by Russell Brunson. This is an oldie but a goodie. If you have not read it, I highly recommend. It's a very interactive read. Although it's thick, don't let that discourage you from checking it out. It is action-packed, right? And if you want to get started and have an accountability partner to do so, I'd highly recommend you join my community called StartupBooks. It's literally your personal trainer for reading, accountability, and a million resources that go along and coincide with the book. So you're taking your knowledge and turning it into profits. That's StartupBooks. Link is included below. I'd love to see you there. Okay, so let's talk about something that Russell talks about early on in the book when he's talking about what he calls the hook story offer model. All right, so I'll tell the story that he said because I think it really is going to ring true to hear the story versus me to just explain what that concept actually means. Be thinking the entire time about what this could look like in your specific business, right? So what he did is that he had a new iPhone, actually like the one I have here, and he got up on stage. He was invited to speak at an event, and basically he said, I just paid $600 for this phone, but I guarantee you by the time I'm done talking, someone's going to be willing to pay me $100,000 for it, right? What? That's crazy talk, right? That's bizarre. Who would pay you $100,000 for a $600 phone, right? So he goes on and proceeds to say that this particular phone, he spent over $750,000 in online programs and training specifically for learning how to build an online business and marketing and sales and so on and so forth. And all of that he stripped and saved onto that specific phone. He also said that there's a program, I think he called it Voxer, which actually was private access to him directly for coaching, and people pay, I think he said $100,000 a year for that private access to him specifically. And then the third thing that he said was he went through and he was talking about how that specific phone, right, had all these various high-level contacts, right, all the people that he had met, and he rattled off some huge names, some of the most notable entrepreneurs on the planet, and those people were his private contacts in that phone, right? And so he goes through, and then he starts saying to the people in the audience, says, okay, now, knowing what you now know, how many of you would pay $5,000 for this phone? And mostly everybody's hands stayed up. How many did you pay? $10,000, $20,000, $50,000, and he kept raising the bar. And the hands started to drop, but there were a lot that stayed up, right? Probably like half the room, their hands stayed up. He got all the way up to $750,000, right? Remember, he said he was going to sell it for $100,000, that he would get people committed to spend $100,000 on this phone at the time he finished telling his story, right? And so at the end, he's got 3 people that had their hands up at $750,000. So he said, can you guys come up to the stage? And they did, and they proceeded to come up there. And one of the gentlemen, he said, okay, why did you continue to raise your hand for $750,000? And he says, and this is important, and he says, for everything you just told me that's in there, I feel like $750,000 is a deal. So let's think about what that means, right? Because here he was saying that this thing is valued at what I say to be $100,000, which is ridiculous compared to what he actually paid for it, which was $600, right? And now there's somebody that's saying that 7 times what he actually said he was going to sell it for, which was astronomically larger than what he originally paid for it. This guy said that was still a bargain. Now, let's think about that because this is really important when it comes to your business specifically. A lot of people will say, this is $600, right? And so I'm going to turn around and I'm going to sell it for what it's worth. It's worth $600, right? And maybe it is all this value packed into it. Maybe you have done all these things. Maybe you have gone to school and you're specifically uniquely qualified to teach the things that you teach or provide the service that you provide or educate people or serve people on a level that's much higher than what they anticipate, right? But here's the deal. We don't have an effective hook, right? We don't have something that really reels people in and says, I'm interested to learn more. Right, so it doesn't differentiate us from our market, right? It's just another service that offers another offer, right? So the market becomes very saturated, specifically with the internet, right? There's options all over the place, and so there's nothing to differentiate you from the next guy. So you need something that's going to hook their attention. When he said, "I guarantee you, this phone is worth $100,000," you'll be willing to pay $100,000. That's like, I'm interested now. What is so special about this phone, right? So you've got your hook. Then you've got your story, right? And he proceeds to go on and talk about all the things that this phone includes and what they could access with those things, right? So he's value stacking in his storytelling, and then he provides the offer. Most often what we do is we go straight to offer, and there's nothing that differentiates us, and there's no storytelling to really build that value, right? There's nothing in there that says, this is why what we offer is worth what you should be paying for it, right? So we don't offer anything more than what our competitors offer, and most often what happens is that people purchase the offer and then realize, all of the things that you should have told them before they made the purchasing decision, right? And this is a really bad case scenario, is people purchase, they're customers of yours, and they still don't know. They still don't know the true value that they're receiving from you, and so they don't maximize it to its fullest. They don't take advantage of it to its fullest, or you don't serve them in the fullest capacity that you could. And thus, if you have other offers down the road that you want to use as profit maximizers, you haven't created enough super fans that understand the intrinsic value of what you offer to then take the next step in the customer journey along the value ladder. So really important to nail that. So really think about in terms of what that means to you. I know that's a really fun story, but really think about what that means for you. What's the hook? What are the ways that you're really attracting people's attention? What are the claims you can make about your industry, or get their attention to tell them a story about either you or your company, or the ways that you educating them on the ways that you do business and the merit of why what you do is really valuable and how they should value it more than what they do, right? I've been through a lot of different programs where they sell that and they say, now, what would that be worth to you, right? And I'll be like, that's invaluable, right? So they're helping you build the value yourself. Your job is to lead people to the sale, not to sell people. You lead them to the sale through your building value in that story process, right? And then provide the offer. All right. So in terms of being able to do that, that's going to be really tough to craft that. But I would sit down, I'd whiteboard. I think it's a tremendous exercise for you to do, not only with yourself, but also with your team or with your business partner, whomever that looks like. But if you can nail one of those and start building that into your story and then crafting a funnel, a sales funnel that takes them through the value ladder, through that customer journey, I think what you're going to find is you're going to create a lot more super fan customers, but also customers that are willing to pay what you're worth. And then also you serve them at a much higher level, which would be your profit maximizer. I hope this was helpful, guys. Make sure to check out StartupBooks. You actually get your first 14 days for 100% free to read books like Dotcom Secrets, as well as the top business books pretty much in the world we cover inside that community. Again, we are your personal trainer for reading and resources, holding you accountable, providing reading plans, weekly insights, actionable takeaways, implementation kits, you name it, it's in there. I'd love to see you in there, and I will see you guys in the next one.